Good evening, and welcome to Political Forum for Wednesday, June 17th. I'm your host, Dartesia Pitts, and today on Political Forum we have the 21st Ward Alderman, Howard Brookins.
Hey, thanks for having me. Glad to be back.
Thank you for coming. As you know, Political Forum is a community service initiative provided by the board of CAN-TV to engage our viewers in discussion with some of our elected officials. We welcome your questions and comments tonight for Alderman Brookins, and call us. Please do engage us in conversation at the number that you see at the bottom of your screen, 312-738-1060. And during the next 25 minutes, we'll try to get to as many calls as we possibly can. All right. Well, it's always a pleasure to host you.
I feel blessed that I've seen you twice in almost 7 days at the Cook County Bar Installation Dinner, and that was a fantastic event.
Thank you. I think it was as well. We had Attorney Marilyn Mosby there from Baltimore and a lot of lawyers as well.
And you know, I think now that the public is starting to really be aware of what the role of a prosecutor in our town is, a state's attorney, but what a DA or a prosecutor does, how they can affect the lives of just every day average citizens. And so it is great that people are paying attention to that and paying attention to the upcoming state's attorney race that will be right here in Cook County in March.
Absolutely. It's always that power of one vote. As you may or may not know, Alderman Brookins is also an attorney at law.
Right.
We are both alum of Northern Illinois College of Law, so I always like to give him a hard time.
Yeah,
and like
education went to the dogs. The Huskies.
The Huskies, absolutely. So we have a lot going on in the city, like always.
Yes, we do.
Just came off of a crazy election season, and I'm happy to see you here today.
I'm happy to be here again to serve the people of the city of Chicago and to serve the people of the 21st Ward. And I actually have a new role as the chairman of the Economic Development and Technology Committee. And so I'm looking forward to going around the city, listening to new ideas, and hopefully coming up with some innovative ways that we can get economic development in our communities and also technology. One of the things that we are underrepresented as African Americans, and for that fact, all minorities and women, is in the technology field. And as much as Bill Gates is given, and there were some young kids today who got Bill Gates scholarships, that field is really lacking with respect to minority participation. Those are the jobs of the future. And so hopefully we can start doing some things that we can encourage these major companies to really diversify, especially seeing that more than 60% of the people who graduate from college are women. So for them to have a dearth of women and minorities seems to be shocking.
So if one of your constituents, if they're sitting at home watching you today, how are they able to maybe share their ideas or concerns as it relates to...
Well, one, they can call me at 773-881-9300. We have an interactive website at howardbrookinsjr.com. They can send their comments to me there. A lot of people stop me in the hallway, etc., and say, hey, Alderman, I thought of this idea. But we are really trying to bring in a diverse group, both on the economic front and also on the technology front, to figure out how we can start solving some of these problems that we're having.
Well, I appreciate the callers jumping right in. We have a caller already.
Hello?
Hi, yeah, I actually have a question about economic development. One thing I've always wondered about is, I know one way that the city kind of incentivizes businesses to move in here is through tax breaks and tax incentives.
Correct.
But I always wondered how do you do the math to know that the amount of tax breaks that you're giving a company is going to kind of pay for itself and more versus the amount of money that you're losing.
Well, they do go through a screening process, and they're asked those questions: how many jobs will you bring, etc. But nobody can guarantee that company will stay in business. So to some extent, you do the recruiting and you hope that they're a viable company and that the things that they will do will pan out. but I don't know that there are any necessary guarantees after you give somebody a tax break that they'll stick around. And speaking of tax breaks, we also talk about the tax breaks we give the film industry
Right.
and some of the controversy surrounding that.
Well, that was an excellent and perfect segue to another question. We, prior to coming on today, talked about Chiraq and Spike Lee's new movie, and we are the city is incentivizing him with tax breaks.
The state.
The state, I'm sorry.
Right.
Incentivizing him with tax breaks. So how will that affect the community, and is it really beneficial and worth it for us?
Well, one, they are filming here and they're spending money in the city of Chicago. Two, if you believe the reports as to the type of film that Spike Lee is making, it is a political satire. And while the name may be damning, I don't know that we go that far with other references to Chicago that weren't as flattering. People still think of Chicago as being a gangster town based on Al Capone. So I think that some good can come out of it. We want people here in Chicago, whether it is Spike Lee or the Transformers or Batman, I think that those films have cast a positive light on the city, and people want to come and see where some of those scenes were shot. Mm-hmm. So even out of a bad situation, there can be good out of it, and it has gotten us to start talking about those things that are really affecting our community, crime and violence, and what we can do to stop it, and that everybody has a part in it.
I agree. At least, if nothing else, he has us talking about it right now, today. If you are just tuning in, we are sitting here with Alderman Howard Brookins Jr., who is our guest this evening on Political Forum. I encourage you to call us, engage in conversation with the Alderman of the 21st Ward. The number is at the bottom of the screen. So tell us, we just kind of jumped right in. Where is the 21st Ward?
So the 21st Ward is on the south side of Chicago, and the rough boundaries are 99th Street on the south, 79th Street on the north. The Dan Ryan is the easternmost boundary, and then I go as far west as Damon in certain areas.
Okay. And as of 2015, the new ward maps have kicked in. How has that transition been?
Well, I lost some space on the south end. I used to go as far south as 107th Street, and I picked up an area between 87th and 83rd, Ashland and Damon, that area in there, which is pretty much, people thought that was my ward anyway, because it kind of mirrors and resembles the ward in all aspects. We are primarily a single family house type of ward.
Okay. Well, let's talk about what's going on in your single family house ward. There are a lot of things, a lot of great things that are going on right now in the 21st Ward as far as development.
There are some exciting things still to come, and one of my major focuses has been economic development, because when you have businesses and companies coming into your ward, you also have jobs. And so it started out with the push for Walmart, and Walmart is doing great, and we've gotten a hotel, and Lowe's is there, etc. But I'm excited about some of the non-traditional type things that have come. For example, Pastor Jenkins at the Sauchy and Carson L'Oreal building, while he is going to put his church there, it is also going to be an economic engine, in that there's going to be a school, there's going to be a community center, there's going to be health facilities, there are going to be restaurants contained in that. So it's not just a building that is occupied maybe once or twice or sometimes 3 times a week, but it's going to be occupied and vibrant throughout. We have a digester, an aerobic digester that is slated to come, and that will turn organic material into energy and to compost, etc. So we're excited about that. So what they'll do is go around to all of the restaurants and stuff and get the rotten vegetables, etc., put it in a digester, and something good will come out of it. Studio Movie Grill at 87th Street. So Chatham Theater's transitioning to the Studio Movie Grill. They currently have about 45 employees. They will hire an additional 100 people. They will bring your meals to you at your seat, and it'll just be a whole different atmosphere with drinks and etc. and an upgrade in the movie theater. It'll be a great cinema experience. On the corner of 87th and the Dan Ryan. We have Chipotle's that is slated to come. We have a Checkers that is slated to come. I've been lobbying really hard the Chicago Chicken and Waffle people to come into the 21st Ward, and we really are trying to get businesses to come that mirror what we're doing anyway. So we're driving out of the community to frequent these businesses. So why not have those businesses right there in the neighborhood?
Yeah, that's an excellent idea. We have a caller.
Yeah, good evening to y'all. Hey, Howard Brookins.
Yes, sir.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay, now, when Harold Washington was mayor, now it wasn't no violence like this, but then Bruce Weiner, he to blame, Gary McCarthy to blame, and Robbie Manning to blame. And when Harold Washington was mayor, and it wasn't no violence at all like this in Chicago, and they need to get rid of Gary McCarthy. He need to go back to New York or New Jersey.
Thank you, caller.
I think the statistics will show that actually back then there were actually more murders per year than there are now. I think that we're all to blame. We have to stand up as a community and say we're not going to take it anymore. We tried to run away from our problems. A lot of middle-income black folks moved out to the suburbs thinking that they could get away, and the violence and the problems followed them because we didn't take a stand to say we're not going to take it. We didn't talk to our kids to make sure that they weren't hanging around the wrong element, or they weren't the wrong element themselves. We weren't checking in their rooms to see if my kid is holding a gun for somebody else, or if the terror in the community is the one that is coming to visit my kid. So I think that we have to all share in the responsibility. We have to take a stand and come together as a community and say we're not going to take it anymore. And that is why I'm glad that the American Legion Post 800, the Blackwood Post, on their stand down day on June 27th at 2 o'clock will be at 1610 West 89th Street. And our veterans are going to come together and say, hey, one, we're here to provide services for our vets, but two, we're to provide a service to the community. We've been shot at in Iraq and Afghanistan and Vietnam, etc. We're not afraid of these young punks who are trying to run us out of the community. We're going to take a stand, a firm stand against this violence and stand up and push back.
Okay, so this is American Legion Post on 627, which is the last Saturday of the month?
It's the last Saturday of the month, and they start out at the Armory on Cottage Grove there, and at 2 o'clock they will be at 1610 West 89th Street. We'll hold a press conference, and you'll see black men and women who served our armed services and community members standing up saying, hey, enough is enough.
And community policing starts with us.
It does, absolutely.
We have several callers. Hi, caller.
Good evening.
Hi. Good evening.
I have a question concerning, there's one of your fellow aldermen floated, I believe last week, the idea of a income tax to help relieve some of the city's burden in terms of the debt, like having people who live, people who work in the city, whether or not they live in the city, be charged an income tax off their paycheck. Just want to see what do you think about it?
I'm not a fan of that idea. I would like to see the details, but at first blush, that doesn't sound like something that I would be willing to jump in wholeheartedly and say this is the way out of our economic problems that we're having right now.
Okay. We have another caller.
Good evening, Alderman Brookins.
Good evening.
My question is, it seems like I'm following right behind, and my concern is this, about too much information being shared. Will we have to be concerned about the police department getting this type of information in terms about employers? They have to worry about them going to our place of employment. What certain safeguards going to be put in place because too much information is being shared?
I don't quite understand.
Hello, caller?
Yes.
Okay.
So
What I'm saying is this. If we do have a city income tax,
I got you.
all that information, will we have to worry about the police department getting the information in terms of employers? And then certain things may have. Do we have to worry about the police department? If we owe some tickets, will the police department be going to arrest people at their employers?
I don't know that that would be the case, but I can say that millions of people volunteer all of their personal business on Facebook and other social media. I think that if the police have a valid reason, they're going to get your information from every source. The FBI has ways that they can get your income taxes and other information about you, and you not even necessarily know that they've gotten it. The NSA is listening to every phone call that you make. I don't know that would be my main concern for not supporting that. I just don't necessarily think that the way out for the city of Chicago is an income tax.
If you are just now tuning in, we are talking to Alderman Howard Brookins Jr. of the 21st Ward. Please give us a call and engage in the conversation. We have another caller. Hi, caller.
Hello. Good evening, Alderman.
Good evening.
I wanted to address a question about in some areas like food desert areas, they don't have, adequate stores. And then with the stores they do have, and this is not only on the west side, it's on the south side too, and it's in low-income areas. And I really, and now they're coming into like the middle-class areas, and they're opening these stores and they're keeping the windows where you can't see in them. And I know it's a law that the windows can't be blocked like that. You must have at least 2/3 where you can see in a store. And that's number one. And number two, the store is at the top of the store, the building, I should say, is vacant. But the bottom of the store, they open a store and they selling food. And I'm talking about mostly, I'm not trying to pinpoint no race, but I'm talking about mostly the Arabs. And nobody does anything about it. And I'm not blaming you, and I want this crystal clear, because I have addressed the same issue to Congressman Alderman Davis, and his thing said, and what he said is, we don't have to go into those stores. Well, let me tell you one thing. If that's all you have in your area, and you don't have a car, and you're on welfare, which I'm not, they have no other choice. And it's one of these stores on every corner, and I think that's terrible. And like I said, it's not only in your ward, it's in mostly in all black wards. You don't see that in Caucasian areas. I'm going to tell the truth now. You don't see that in that area. And the thing about it is, we don't complain. As aldermen, these aldermen, we got all these aldermen. We have every ward have a ward superintendent. It is their responsibility to go out and check the area and monitor, what's going on. A lot of these
caller.
Stores, all they sell is potato chips. Okay, I'm sorry.
Okay,
I got you.
Let the alderman answer your question.
Okay.
All right, bye-bye.
So, yes, I'm glad she brought that up. I agree with Congressman Davis that we can vote with our feet and not frequent those stores. I also understand the caller's sentiment. We are blessed in the 21st Ward, where I think that we're a food oasis. We have 2 Jewels, we have Food for Less, we have Walmart. So we have major outlets there. We have 4 Walgreens there. Some of them sell food and fresh vegetables, etc. But one of the things that I've been pressing on, and I've been talking to our state reps and state senators, is how we utilize our TIF and asking for significant TIF reform in the Springfield level. That right now TIFs can only be spent in TIF areas, but I would like TIF money to be able to be used in truly blighted areas like you have described, places that are food deserts and places that don't have the amenities that they should. And so as opposed to sending some of that money back to the taxing agencies or spending all of the money on projects that we have to think about downtown, that some of that money could actually go to those areas that are in dire economic need. And so I think that we have to do it all. We have to write letters to those stores. We have to complain to the manager. I think that we need incentives to have other businesses there. And I think that the businesses that you do go to, when you take that track out of your community, if you're going to a Food for Less or Walmart or somewhere else, to make sure that we start a letter writing campaign to them and saying, hey, I frequent your store. You need to open up in our community.
I agree with the incentives to businesses like that. I don't know if there's an African American Grocers Association, but it's hard to give incentives to internet and technology when some of the more basic needs in the communities aren't met. And this is a constant, especially regarding the food.
And that is one of the things that I talked about when I was the chairman of the Black Caucus, and Rod Sawyer, who is the current chairman of the Black Caucus, is talking about. And all of our members have been really trying to push to make sure that there's some type of link development, meaning that if a company, whether it is Walmart or whether it's Food for Less or even Whole Foods, locate in one area, that they commit to locating in an underserved area also.
We have another caller. The lines are blowing up today.
Hello.
Hi.
Hello.
Hi. I have an observation as well as a question. My observation is as follows. Alderman Brookins, you've been the alderman of the 21st Ward since 2003. The ward is very dirty. The landscaping around the businesses is horrible. Our Gateway Street 87th from the Dan Ryan West to Damon is the businesses there are in horrible shape. The landscaping, there's signage everywhere. When are you going to do something about that? That's the first part. The second part is, when are you going to address the viaduct at 83rd and Vincennes? It's a nightmare. Thank you.
So the answer is now, and we've been addressing those issues. It is unfortunate that people think that government can solve everything. I can't make a business owner take pride in his business, but the community can. The community can truly put pressure on businesses in the ward to clean up. I look at my dad's business on 93rd and Ashland, the funeral home. We've expanded. We've done beautification. We're doing a beautification award now that we're spending money trying to get people, businesses and homeowners, to beautify their locations. We have a new ward superintendent who is going around writing tickets like crazy to motivate those businesses who just won't do it by sheer persuasion. We're trying to get trash cans up and down 87th Street. We sponsored legislation which became an ordinance that if you are throwing trash out of your car window, your car can be towed. So we're doing everything that we know that we can do as a legislator, and we are not the sheriff of the 21st Ward to get people properly motivated to do things.
We have time for one more caller. Hi, caller.
Hello.
Yes.
I'd like to ask Alderman Brookins. There are two homes on 81st and Princeton that one has been. It was a fire 8 years ago. This home has a hole in the roof. The backyard is open, and it's open for vandalism and for crime. I have called your office, I've called the city, I've called the media, and, I don't understand what it takes to get this taken care of.
It takes a lot. It takes a lawsuit, and it takes a judge to hit that gavel and order that property be demolished if it is vacant and hazardous or dangerous and hazardous, etc. And so some of that is beyond our control and out of our hands. And I'm sure if you've called our office, they've given you the complaint number to follow up to see exactly where it is. But it takes years. It is not an overnight situation, as I'm sure that nobody would want the city to just rush in like we were doing at one time, knocking buildings down, and then we got sued for it. And we had to pay out additional money.
All right. Well, it's always a pleasure, Alderman Brookins.
You too.
We are out of time. Last word?
Thanks for the callers. Look forward to seeing you on June 27th. We have to take back our communities. We have to be responsible and push businesses, community leaders, block club leaders. Everybody has a part in making their ward safe and making their ward beautiful.
All right, and we want to thank our phone technician this evening, Sylvia. Please tune in next week on Wednesday as we will host the 36th Ward Alderman, new Alderman, Gilbert Villegas. Have a great evening.